special portions you are in offer to the Lord will be 25,000 cubits long and 10,000 cubits wide. This will be the secret portion for the priest. It will be 25,000 cubits long on the north side, 10,000 cubits wide on the west side, and 10,000 cubits wide on the east side, and 25,000 cubits long on the south side. In the center of it will be the sanctuary of the Lord. And this is the word of God.
Hallelujah. Good evening. Welcome to Zion Church, and welcome to church on Wednesday night. And we're going to continue on with, are you wondering, with Judges or Ezekiel temple? Are you wondering why we're not continuing with Judges? Or are you saying, phew, it's not Judges? This is kind of like, in Revelation you see intermission, right? Do you know about intermission in Revelation? Which chapters? Chapter 7, chapter 10, chapter 11, and so on. There are intermissions, also known as interlude. And that's what the purpose is. It goes in the original scheme and original setting, and then all of a sudden in the middle of it, God inserts a different revelation because it is very important for that time being. And so he inserts that extra information and new different revelation so that people can understand more, be prepared for what is to come. So all that to say that we are going to get back to the Judges for next week. So you seem very disappointed. Why is it because it is too much like us that you don't want to hear about the Judges? Judges is very important, and we have maybe two or three more lessons left. But I believe after the Judges, we might come back to the study about Ezekiel's temple. And Ezekiel's temple, as I mentioned earlier, we are sharing only bits and pieces right now because the book has not come out. So I'm not teaching in order. I will be teaching different parts here and there. So please, even if you don't understand fully what's happening, especially today's study, it's not going to be very easy and it's very technical. But after you study the other things in the beginning, you might be able to understand more and fully later. And so Ezekiel's temple is known and agreed by most of the scholars, biblical scholars, that it is foreshadowing and it is a pair with the New Jerusalem in Revelation. And as I mentioned on Sunday, on the Lord's Day, there are three temples or dwellings of God that were not created by God, by human hands, but only created or only to be created by God's hand. There are three, right? First, the Garden of Eden. Second, the Ezekiel's temple. Third, the New Jerusalem. I left out one. I think I mentioned briefly one. Anybody? No? The hand that was not made by human hand. The temple that was not made by human hand. Jesus. Jesus is the true temple, right? So, we're not going to review lecture 1, which was this past Lord's Day, but we're going to continue right into lecture 2, the location of Ezekiel's temple. Location of Ezekiel's temple. Through Ezekiel's temple, God showed the division of the land for the 12 tribes and the allotment to be set apart to the Lord. This foreshows God's kingdom to be restored and the future inheritance of the saints. And so Ezekiel's temple is an image physical description and image of the heavenly temple at the same time as it is an image of the unbroken garden of God before the fall. And so this is a temple to be restored at the same time as the image of the heavenly temple. At the same time, it's a foreshadowing of the New Jerusalem. All that to say, one thing. This is a temple that we need to become. We need to be like. And so all these descriptions, measurements, all these things have spiritual meaning, redemptive significance that we need to become. We need to measure up to a certain image or some certain measurement and expectation that God has. In Revelation chapter 11, let us turn to Revelation. Revelation chapter 11. I'll read verses 1 and 2. Then there was given me a measuring rod like a staff. And someone said, "Get up and measure the temple of God and the altar and those who worship in it." Okay? So the command is to go measure the temple of God and the altar and those who worship in it. We're trying to make plans and designs for the new sanctuary. And so whenever we go to Norcom 2, we take our measuring tape and we keep on measuring the same thing over and over and over again. And we come back and measure this again and again. I don't know, we keep on forgetting. One thing we forgot to measure, according to this, 14 committee members. We forgot to measure those who worship. Well, actually we did. I measured my height. Is that what this means? So if you don't think this is a literal measuring of the height and centimeters and meters and feet, the word measured here is used for something else, right? It's telling us to measure the amount of faith, measure how much we stand up to God, right? And verse 2, leave out the court which is outside the temple and do not measure it. God's interest is not outside the temple. What God cares for, what God wants to measure, I'll continue on. For it has been given to the nations. Here the word nations is literally Gentiles. Okay? To the nations, Goim, the Gentiles. It is given to the Gentiles. I don't care. Basically, my interest is not in there. And they will tread underfoot the holy city for 42 months. What God is interested in measuring is inside of the temple and the people who are worshiping. So when it comes time when God is measuring us, I pray that we may be able to measure up to His expectations. Okay. So here, continue on reading again. The last sentence in the first paragraph. This foreshows God's kingdom to be restored and the future inheritance for the saints. So here in today's passage, God is showing how He allocated different parts of the land for different tribes, for the 12 tribes. Okay? Ezekiel chapter 48 verses 1 through 7 is about allotment from the north of the land. Okay? Ezekiel chapter 48 verses 8 through 22 is about allotment from the center of the land. Then verse 23 through 29, we don't have time to read through all these passages, so I pray that you can go and go back and read through all these Bible verses. And it's about, because I really mean it, because even after I was given this study, I had to go back and read again and again. Because it really, I don't know, maybe I'm not smart enough, it didn't really make sense to me in the beginning. Until I went back to the Bible and read it again, and compared the drawing and read it again, and then it made sense to me just a little bit. So, the third blank is the south. Did I give you the center? The center blank is the center. Okay? So, chapter 48, verses 8 through 22 is about allotment from the center of the land. And verses 23 through 29 is about allotment from the south of the land. Number 1, portions for the 12 tribes. 7 tribes received their portions from the north of the holy allotment. Please excuse the spelling errors. Okay? So 7 tribes, and there are the Bible verses 1 through 7. In parentheses, number 2, 5 tribes received their portions from the south of the holy allotment. Okay? So 7 from the north, 5 from the south. And this is the land which you shall, Here, Lot is Nahala. Nahala. You want to try practice? It's not Nahala, it's Nahala. Meaning inheritance, possession. You want Nahala, right? You want heavenly Nahala. Okay? It's just kind of fun to say. Inheritance, possession, heritage, portions is Machalekot. The italicized pronunciation is wrong. Machaloket. Machaloket. Okay? Machaloket. It means share or division. Okay? So what can we get out of all these verses where the land, the lot is distributed, allotted for different tribes? First, that is the redemptive administration, the portions for the 12 tribes. First, all portions are divided equally. When we think about this, you can think about God's reward and inheritance in the kingdom of heaven. When we go to heaven, who's going to receive the inheritance? The 12 tribes. In the end, in the Old Testament, it's the 12 tribes. In the New Testament, the 12 disciples, apostles, right? And in Revelation, the doors and the foundations, there are names of the 12 tribes and 12 apostles, right? And I believe that the 12 tribes and 12 apostles represent the churches of this end time. And so I pray that we may become one of those, meaning children of Abraham. And they will receive equally. But here the word equally, okay, doesn't just mean, okay, you get two, everybody gets exact same portion. Equally is relative to God's decision. Right? Do you think the slave that received 5 talents, the slave that received 2 talents, and the slave that received 1 talent, did they receive differently or equally?
Differently.
It seems differently, but it says according to their ability. Right? So, we don't know. But equally meaning fairly, according to God's justice and righteousness. Portions are divided equally among them since they are all brethren. Second thing that we can learn from this is that it shows the blessing of the firstborn. See here, it's not equal in terms of exact calculation. Ezekiel chapter 47 verse 13. Ezekiel 47:13, right there. It shows there. Thus says the Lord God, this shall be the boundary by which you shall divide the land for an inheritance among the 12 tribes of Israel. Joseph shall have 2 portions. Why? 1 Chronicles chapter 5 verse 1 and 2 tell us Joseph is the firstborn. Right? And in Leviticus, the firstborn receives the whole portion of the inheritance. And so we have studied, and hopefully we will have another chance to study about the firstborn in the Bible. The spiritual firstborns are given the 2 portions, double the blessings. Amen?
Amen.
How did Joseph receive both 2 portions? Remember when Jacob was about to die, he tells Joseph, you have 2 sons, bring them. And then he says, Joseph, I'll take you out of the genealogy of your generation, and your son Manasseh and Ephraim will be my sons. Okay? Ephraim and Manasseh are his grandchildren, but he says they will be my sons just like Reuben is my son. Meaning, I pull up their generation, okay, and line up with Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, and so on. And so Joseph comes out, and Manasseh and Ephraim become tribes each. So in place of Joseph's tribe, it would have been 1 tribe, Joseph taken out, and it becomes 2 tribes. So descendants of Joseph receive 2 portions all the time. And so you can refer to those verses. Third, what we can learn is portions are given to Gentiles also. Chapter 47, verse 22. You shall divide it by lot for an inheritance among yourselves and among the aliens who stay in your midst. Do we have aliens staying in our midst? I used to be an alien. Did you know? I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, you still look like an alien. When I went to the United States and they gave me a green card and it says aliens number. It's an alien's card. And I used to be an alien until I got naturalized. Kind of weird, right? You get naturalized, meaning you get your citizenship. They say aliens are naturalized. And so they belong to the United States now. Anyway, alien means foreigners, okay, who stay in your midst, who bring forth sons in your midst, and they shall be to you as the native born among the sons of Israel. They shall be allotted an inheritance with you among the tribes of Israel. So, inheritance of God's kingdom surpasses blood lineage. It's not one race. It's not just, just us. God's blessing, God's inheritance surpasses any border, any boundaries, and He receives. As long as Isaiah tells us, everywhere God continues to tell us, as long as they believe and hold on to my covenant and keep my Sabbath. 2 things. Keeping the covenant and keep my Sabbath, you can become my heir. Fourth, the eastern regions of the Jordan, or you can write it singular to make it grammatically correct. The eastern region of the Jordan River, Jordan, was excluded from the portions. Let's read Numbers 32, verse 2. The sons of Gad and the sons of Reuben came and spoke to Moses and to Eleazar the priest and to the leaders of the congregation, saying, and we'll skip to verses 5 through 7. They said, if we have found favor in your sight, let this land be given to your servants as a possession. Do not take us across the Jordan. But Moses said to the sons of Gad and to the sons of Reuben, shall your brothers go to war while you yourselves sit here? Now why are you discouraging the sons of Israel from crossing over into the land which the Lord has given them? What's going on here? Gad and Reuben settled down where? East of Jordan. Where's Palestine? I cannot write here, but if this is the river, you saw that, right? This is the Sea of Galilee, Jordan River. There it is. Okay? Sea of Galilee, Jordan River, and the Dead Sea. Okay? This is the east of Jordan. Okay? The promised land is on this side. This is the east of Jordan. Now, east of Jordan, they settled there, they invested there, and now, all of a sudden, when God is blessing them with allotment, that portion is not included. And the people who settle down there, can you give this land to us too? God says, what are you going to do? When these people are in the war, you're going to rest in peace there? Why are you not letting your brothers cross over to be in the promised land? So, this teaches us, do not invest in the wrong places. They thought that was going to be part of the promised land. We sometimes invest our time, our money, our heart in things that we decided, oh, this is God's will. This is God's portion. This is God's part of the kingdom work. But make sure to ask God first, is this going to be a part of your kingdom? If not, I invest my time in the wrong thing. And in the end, imagine we go to heaven, and God says, nothing for you, sorry. But I spent so much time, I did this, in the name of the Lord. He says, I don't know you, sorry. He says, but you did what you thought. Not what I recognize as part of the kingdom. Let us not define, and let us not be the one to make the borders because we like to do it, because we think it's good. Because in the end, God decides where the borders are. Let us not stay on the wrong side of the border. And many times we have a tendency to kind of deflect or kind of bend the rules or bend the word and say, it's okay. And many different skills we attain year by year, day by day, how to reflect, deflect, and reflect, and how to avoid, and convince myself it's okay to do that because I am on top of the world, or God forbid, I am on top of the word. This might happen. Fifth, 2 tribes belonging to the southern kingdom of Judah. Which tribes belong to the southern kingdom of Judah? Judah and Benjamin. Judah and Benjamin possess the land above and below the holy allotment. Okay. Let me show you where the holy allotment is. Here we read in our main passage, we read about holy allotment. Do you remember 25,000 cubits, 10,000 cubits, and so on? Okay. Do you see? I don't know if this little strip, shaded a little bit darker, right here. This strip is the holy allotment. This is all of Israel. Okay. And the tribes were given these portions of the land. But God said, this shall be the holy allotment right there. Okay? And above it is the tribe of Judah, and right below it is the tribe of Benjamin. And so these are the tribes that are adjacent, that are touching the holy allotment. Okay. And sure, everybody wants to be, this is, if you are to put price on the portions of the land, holy allotment you cannot buy. But at least these two plots of land, the most expensive. You want to be right next to the holy allotment, right? Why? The next page, page 15. Southern kingdom of Judah inherited the covenant of God. Covenant of God. The covenant of God continued on with the southern kingdom of Judah after the split. This shows that the people who inherit the covenant and hold on to it can come near the sanctuary. Sanctuary meaning the kingdom of God, foreshadowing the kingdom of God. 2 Samuel chapter 7 verse 12. We'll read that. 2 Samuel chapter 7 verse 12. When your days are complete and you lie down with your fathers, I will raise up your descendant after you, who will come forth from you, and I will establish his kingdom. When those who are close to the temple, we are the ones who will eventually gain victory and succeed. And so, if you want your children or yourself to be successful, spiritually and even physically, get yourself closer to the temple, to the sanctuary of God. Meaning, come more often. Be here more often. And surely, please do believe, I certainly believe, from experience and from indirect experience, from observations too, those who come to church more often, those who not just meaninglessly come, but really come for worship and seek for God. God stays closer to them. God will bless them. Even vegetables succeed and are more successful when they are in the temple of God. You have heard senior pastor talking about that a lot, right? In Korea, we have cabbage patch in Yeochun. And those cabbages are plump. We don't use like extra hormones or chemical fertilizers. But do you know what we use to raise them? Good soil and praise. We let them hear praise. We let them hear us praising God. And literally, those who are in charge there, they play praise songs and hymn songs in the field. And they come out really, really amazingly awesome. They're not GMO style. They are really natural, plump, fresh, and very tasty. Even vegetables do that. How about people? Okay. You don't want to get old? Come to church. Some people say, I come to church, I feel like I'm getting old, 2 years older every year. But truly, I don't know, I might be very biased, but I believe true believers, really sincere believers of God, our church members, look younger than other people. You can laugh at me, but say amen first. Okay. Big number 3, overview of the allotment to be set apart to the Lord. This is what we are interested about, okay? Because that's where Ezekiel's temple is. This, can you show this? This is the strip, right? This is the holy allotment, and you see that little square, okay? That's where the temple of Ezekiel is located, okay? So we'll find that out. Still on page 15, 25,000 cubits in width, and the length is from the east side to the west side. So, okay, allotment. Ezekiel 48 verse 8. And beside the border of Judah, from the east side to the west side, shall be the allotment which you shall set apart, 25,000 cubits in width and in length, like one of the portions, from the east side to the west side, and sanctuary shall be in the middle of it. Okay. The whole allotment shall be 25,000 by 25,000 cubits. You shall set apart the holy allotment, a square, with a property of the city. Okay. Now, remember that strip? Can you show that the other slide? This section and this square, remember that square, and now the other one, is this square. Okay? It comes from, this thing comes from this portion. You understand, right? It's on your paper too, first page, right? And so this is a magnified version of this little square. And this is 25,000 cubits by 25,000 cubits. Okay? And inside, you saw that little dot. Okay? This little square is the temple. Okay? Temple site. Okay? So they set apart this land portion. This is the holy allotment. Okay? Holy allotment. But inside the holy allotment, there is the square. That square is not the temple. Did I just say it was the temple? This is this square, okay? 500 reeds or rods and 500 rods. That's the wall, outside wall. And inside there's another square. That's the temple. Okay, you understand? Okay? So this land is the holy allotment. Okay? And in the center of it is this square, that is the wall, outside wall. And inside, center of that wall is the actual temple. And inside that actual temple is at the center is the altar for burnt offering. And that altar for burnt offering represents and foreshadows Jesus' cross. Center of the center of the center of the center. Okay, so number one, portion for the priests. Can you see that this square is divided into three portions? Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, and this middle section is the land of the priests. In the land of the priests is this temple site. Okay, portion for the priests: 10,000 cubits in width and 25,000 cubits in length. So 10,000 cubits, width as in this way, and 25,000 cubits in length. 1 cubit is 0.532 meters. 1 cubit. We're talking long cubit because we're in Ezekiel. Regular cubit normally is how many centimeters? 45.6 centimeters, right? But 1 long cubit is 53.2 centimeters, which is 0.532 meters. You understand so far? Therefore, 25,000 cubits are, you want to do calculation really fast? No? 13,300 meters, which is 13.3 kilometers. So 10,000 cubits would be 5,320 meters, which is 5.32 kilometers. So, you see here, this length is 13.3 kilometers. Okay, circle number 2. Since the sanctuary or the temple, sanctuary, it's in Ezekiel it says sanctuary. Since the sanctuary is placed in the center, portion for the priests are also in the center. And the sanctuary is 500 cubits all around, and it has 50 cubits for its open space around about. Okay, I'll explain that. This wall is 500 rods, not cubits. Okay, one rod is 6 cubits, right? So 500 rods. But in the temple, is it possible to make it bigger? This is a temple, and this length is 500 cubits one side. Okay? It's okay. Okay. And I don't know if you can see. You can look at it on your paper if you cannot see this one. The edge of this temple is a little bit gray, shaded. And that shaded portion is 50 cubits at each edge. Okay? Making like a buffer zone, empty space. So that's why it says 50 cubits for its open space roundabout. Okay? It is the most holy place by the border of the Levites. Okay? By the border of the Levites, meaning the bordering with the land of the Levites. Now, portion for the Levites, 25,000 cubits in length and 10,000 cubits in width. Same size. Land of the priests and land of the Levites, same size. They built 20 cities. Now, city possession. City possession is this lower part. Okay? For the land of the Levites and the land of the priests are the same size, same width. But city possession is a little bit narrower. That length, that way, 25,000 cubits is the same. But this right here is 5,000 cubits. 5,000 cubits wide and 25,000 cubits long. So there is a city in the midst. Okay, remember in the other map, the 12 tribes were allocated in different parts, not in this holy allotment. But then within this holy allotment, there is a city planning there. Plot for city. City in the midst, and it has open spaces. The city is 4,500 cubits all sides, and its open space is 250 cubits on all sides. See this city here? This city space, and in the middle of it is another square. Right? This is a square for the temple site, right? And this is a city square, right? 45,000 cubits all around, and 250 cubits on open space on all sides. Kind of like this temple, there's an open space at the edge. Here, there's an open space at the edge, 250 cubits on all sides. The name of each tribe is written in all sides of the city. Okay? So here, on all sides of the city, the names of the 12 tribes are written. Okay? 3 gates toward the north, the gates of Reuben, Judah, and Levi. 3 gates toward the south, the gates of Simeon, Issachar, and Zebulun. 3 gates toward the east, the gates of Joseph, Benjamin, and Dan. and 3 gates toward the west. So if you're interested about filling in the blanks, north, south, east, and west. But if you're interested about the names are there. Okay? West gate, gate of Gad, Asher, and Naphtali. One day we will study the meanings and significance of these gates and names. But today we're just going through what's there. And then fourth, circle number 4, the produce from the land, 10,000 cubits toward the east and 10,000 cubits toward the west of the holy allotment is food for the workers of the city. Now, fourth, land for the prince. Prince is, this word is like chief or king, even also means king. Okay? Land for the prince. It is on the one side and on the other of the holy allotment. Okay? So, can we go to the other slide? See here, the holy allotment. Here is the holy. This square is the holy allotment. Left side and the right side of this shape is for the prince. Okay. And it is between the border. You can refer to these Bible verses, Ezekiel 48 verses 21 through 22. It is between the border of Judah and Benjamin. So, can we go up a little bit? Okay. So, it's to the left and to the right of the holy allotment, between the border of Judah and Benjamin. So, this shaded parts. And now, redemptive administration, redemptive significance of the holy allotment. First, 3 levels of holy allotment. Common use. There's a portion for common use, which is the, if we go to the other slide, the other picture, this bottom part is the common use. Okay? And as part of common use is like a courtyard in the tabernacle. Okay? The common use is for city dwellings in this context. Ezekiel 48 verse 15. The remainder, 5,000 cubits in width and 25,000 in length, shall be for common use for the city, for dwellings and for open spaces, and the city shall be in its midst. And then there's the holy land, portions for the Levites. Okay? The holy land. Kind of like the courtyard, the holy place, right? And then the most holy place, portion for the priests in the center. Now the land for common use is not a secular or sinful land. And just because it says common use, it doesn't mean it's not holy. It's not secular or it's not sinful. Common use, whole in Hebrew, common, whole in Hebrew, this word refers to something that is ordinary. The common land is different from the holy allotment, but it is included in the whole allotment. Right? So it's still part of the holy allotment. It is just in distinguishing this holy, most holy, and this is common. But still, do you see one thing we even though we don't get into the details, one thing you can see is separation. Choosing, selecting a small portion out of the entire land. Okay? And God has selected and set apart this portion. Right? And this is our life. There's a big land, big part of my entire life. or this entire earth. But God has chosen one section of your life. Okay? And that is this. And in that are all three portions: common use, holy, and most holy. You can divide it up in terms of times, of periods of your life, but also just in your heart, in your life, currently. And there's common use. But for the chosen people of God, for the saints, even our common thing cannot be sinful things. Sinful things are already cut off, already separated. And this is within after separating, this is within the good, within the holy. So meaning, even when we do ordinary things, even when we do common things, we have to realize that is included in that holy allotment of your life. If you are allotted to be holy, do you believe that you are set apart for God's use as God's holy allotment? That means even our common use, even our Mondays and Tuesdays and Thursdays and Fridays, even when we don't have church, our ordinary things should still be holy. We want to be set apart because we want to be part of this land, because what is there? Temple is there in the center. Or the other way around, because when the temple is there in the center, then this entire life becomes the holy allotment for the Lord. Next page. Ezekiel chapter 48, verse 20. The whole allotment shall be 25,000 by 25,000 cubits. You shall set apart the holy allotment, a square, with the property of the city. Okay? So this square is not long on one side and short on the other side. It's the same size and on all four directions. And it's right angle, okay, on all four angles. That is referring to and signifying God's perfect and complete justice and righteousness. This shows that our life of ordinary times must never be sinful, but rather become a sacrifice acceptable to God. Romans chapter 12, verse 1. Therefore I urge you, brethren, by the mercies of God, to present your bodies a living and holy sacrifice acceptable to God, which is your spiritual service of worship. And number 3, sanctuary is in the middle of all things. In the middle of the land for the prince. Okay. It's in Israel, in Palestine, or in the land of Canaan. You remember that strip here? And in the middle of that strip is this holy allotment, the square. Okay? And in the middle, number 2, in the middle of the land to be holy allotment to the Lord. And third, in the middle of the portion for the priests. Now, as conclusion, the blessing of the Lord is there, Jehovah Shammah. Where do you think the Lord will be? In all of this land. Of course, everywhere, right? But especially, the Lord is there? Or the Lord is there? The Lord is there. That's why he says, he gave the name of this place. The Lord is there. So where do you want to go? So how do we get there? Our life needs to be set apart like that. Holy, allotted for the Lord. Holy, once again, I define holiness in many different ways. But holiness, being consecrated, means to be set apart. Right? Set apart. And I think last time also I used a pen or eraser like this. This eraser is not clean. Is this holy or not? Holy? Holy? How many say holy? How many say not holy? Dirty. Okay? It's holy because this eraser is set apart for church use, for God's use. Okay? It's dirty because it was doing God's work. It's a trace of God doing God's work. Right? Holy means set apart only for God's use. If my life is, if I am doing a lot of God's work, but at the same time I'm doing a lot of the other work, Satan's work and my work, I'm not holy. Even if I do the best at church, give the most at church, teach the best at church, if I am not, my talents and everything is also used for, I'm not talking about your jobs or your family, but intentions and my purpose is split or shared with not only for God, but I have other purposes, I have other intentions, I have other Satan's influence in me, or my greedy influence in me. That's not holy. And that's why we always need to check ourselves, especially as a pastor, because pastors are supposed to be set apart for God, right? But pastors at the same time are human beings. Not easy to have that one guided direction. Right? And the ones that are successful in doing that, namely, I can tell you many names in the Bible, but namely Enoch, Elijah, people like Abraham, they're the ones that succeeded in being set apart completely. Of course, God helped them do that by giving them hardships, by putting them through agonies and sufferings. But if that helped them to be set apart for God, would you rather go through that suffering too? Thank you. Do you have to ask that question? Or would you rather not be holy and not consecrated and not go through that suffering? Wow.
No choice.
No choice. But no answer either, right? You don't want to leave a record. I'm sorry to say, yeah, really no choice. Sorry to say, you cannot take both. You cannot say, oh, I want that too, but I want this. No, God says, you want transfiguration, you want eternal life. And this is it. This is it, right there. Jehovah Shammah means the Lord is there. This is a promise that God will never leave His people again, but always be with them. And that includes all the way to the kingdom of heaven. Will never leave you. Always be there. That day is ultimately the day of Jesus' return. It is the everlasting presence of God. And so, Ezekiel's temple, this message is very difficult because it's very absolute and clear. There's no compromise here. See, this square does not have any compromise. There's be there or be square kind of thing, right? He says, you won't be able to enter into this temple, which is a foreshadowing of the kingdom of heaven. You won't be able to enter into this temple unless you become completely holy. It shows us that we, at the center of it all, needs to be that covenant of the cross. And you say, wow, that's impossible. Right? Can I take a second tier? Can I take option B? But if you believe and I believe that God has chosen you to be there, you have no choice. You already signed up. No way out. You sing Hotel California, right? Right? You check in anytime you want, but you can never check out. God says, here too. You checked in for eternal life and for His blessings. He will never let you go. He'll never let you go. Even though it might be difficult, and you might say it's impossible, God will make it possible. That's why He says, I'll be there. I'll be there. It's impossible to you, but I'll be there with you. And so, 2019, are you ready for this journey?
Amen.
Don't only look at the suffering side of it. Okay? Look at an exciting journey. If you, every moment, you check and see, oh God, He's still there. He's still here. And you ride on His wings. Ride on His wings. And see, what are we to fear? Jesus already died on the cross for us. In the Old Testament times, it is scary like that. But now we have Jesus. He says, I'll be there. And I'll be there for you. Amen? So let us believe that He will be there with us. And let us take courage and believe that the impossible will become possible. Because who will be there? He will be there. Amen. Let us pray.